Hey, and welcome back. In the previous video, we looked at how we set up foreground permissions, but we're not done just yet. We do have permission to use location in the foreground, but what happens when location settings are turned off? In this video, we look at how to solve this and end up with something similar to what the phone on the screen is doing. And with that said, let's get this show on the road. We'll start off from the docs as usual. And when dealing with location changes, there are some things to keep in mind, and that is the device can get location in various ways. It could be GPS, Wi-Fi, or even Bluetooth. But instead of getting all worked up trying to figure out what's best, you can configure a location request. And this request needs a couple of things, but I'll only highlight two of them. The update interval, which is the rate in which milliseconds your app receives location updates, or the priority, like simply how important is this update. And depending on how you set these, it may consume more power. And yeah, there's a bunch of snippets here that will be useful in the next few minutes. And enough documentation viewing, let's jump right into the Codebase. We'll be using the Codebase from the previous video, but I'll do some cleanups first to declutter the activity and make it easier to navigate our components. The Codebase is available in the description below. I'll start by moving the permission-related components in a single file. I'll call it permission components. They're private, so I'll try and make them visible to the activity. The next thing I'll do is I'll refactor this to use the string resource. From compose, I'll just select all of them. That's a very handy shortcut that really helps me refactor. I think I'll also need some extension functions. I'll use the activity. And I'll also move this to the permission components. This needs an activity. Okay, we can create an extension function to have this method available to us. I'll change this to context as to keep things in the right scope. I think this is no longer needed here. I can move this inside the scope of the function, and that's enough moving. I think next what we need to do is clean up our imports, and done. I'll go back to the documentation and get this snippet for location requests. And let's get coding. I'll start off with creating the function for the location requests that we just copied from the documentation. And it has a lot of deprecated variables and functions, but yeah, let's change this. And we'll set the interval milliseconds that we want to receive updates. Then we set the priority, something that won't consume a lot of battery power. Okay. Then next we'll build the location settings. And building the location request, just depending on how you set your parameters, it will select the method in which it will receive location updates. Then the location settings builder is where you accumulate all these requests. And we only have one, which is fine for us now. Then we'll set up a task. And basically a task is an asynchronous operation. A bunch of Android APIs you might come across this in multiple documentation segments, and they just built an async operation which we can get the result at a later period. And the operation or the response that we're interested in here is the location settings change. So once the location settings is complete or successful, or something that triggers this is done and complete, we can have a callback and listen to the response and act accordingly. So we'll do get result, Then I think the exception that will be thrown from this get result is API exception. Then we have the location setting states. The different states we'll use is location usable. If it's true, then it means we have like a location that we can use, and we can continue the functionality. If it's not, well, we might have to show the user like a dialog or something that they need to enable location access. So let's move this into a try catch block. Then let's handle the exceptions. There's only 2 status codes which we are interested in, location status codes. There's resolution required, meaning they need to do something and change the settings, or we can't really change the settings, or it's impossible for us to resolve this exception. So we'll just ignore this. Now to resolve this, we will create a variable exception and cast it to something called a resolvable API exception. I mean, as the name says, very explicit, it's resolvable. So this is something we can fix. Then, because this will trigger a action to enable location, we'll need to listen into the result. We'll make use of the activity results callback. And I'll just go ahead and create a new and register a new activity results. Also, when you look at the docs, you realize most of this, the stuff that will be shown in the documentation might be a bit outdated. So I am not fully following that. Then I'll just move this up here to have some uniformity for all the activity result callbacks. We can do something with our activity result callback, and let's build an intent sender and pass in details, the pending intent from our resolvable API exception, which will then act upon from the callback. Then I think we'll have to modify our state to accommodate for location settings, and let's trigger UI updates based on location settings being enabled or not. State is done. Also, doing it this way makes it so easy to test. We'll see how to do that in coming videos, so keep watching. And we can now use our view model in the callbacks, check location settings. If it's okay, it's fine. Okay, so we pretty much have built the location request, and this should be good to go. Now this is pretty much good to go, but I guess we can move this elsewhere just to declutter the activity. So I'll just move this to a new file. Let's call it location request, paste it there. Then let's resolve the red lines, and that should be it. Yeah, this is something you could copy paste and change it for whatever projects you have. And yeah, do that when it's successful and everything seems good to go. Now we need to fix this state, because now we check if its permission is granted, and on top of that we also check if location is enabled. So we have to check for all this, and I'll use a when clause for this, and create different states for depending on how the flags are activated for the app. Yeah, if location is available, permission granted, show the UI. If permission is not granted, show the permissions UI. Don't need that anymore. Then we have another case when we have permissions but location is not available. I'll need to create a UI for this. Let's call it enable location settings screen. And lastly, I'll default to requesting permission screen. And let's move this into a function and I'm gonna create it in the permission components file. Enable location settings screen, composable. Cool. And because it's going to have the same format as the requires permission, I'll reuse whatever I already created. Let's call it an info screen. What changes is just the text. Create a message. It's an int resource. It's a string resource. That way no one can pass any other kind of integer. Then let's reuse this here. Don't think a string exists for the screen yet. We'll create one on the fly. Let's clean up over here. Okay. And I'd say done. Cool. Then this should be good to go. And it's launched. Let's see. So yeah, after launching it, we'll disable the location and see how the app behaves. Well, other than that, I'd say call it a video, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one. You can find the resources in the description box below. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and ciao.